Shut up and sit down.
Hello, friends, and welcome to the psychology of virtual reality. And the reason we're talking about virtual reality today is because the news and places all over are talking about that 2016 will be the year of virtual reality. And why not? With companies like Microsoft and HTC, Samsung, Oculus Rift, all these companies coming out with different versions of virtual gear and virtual software for gaming and other aspects of life. This is going to be a big year. I mean, I can't even imagine what Christmas is going to be like. Oh my goodness! But this is going to be a big one, and it's going to be world changing. Really, when you stop to consider it. A friend of mine said that put it very well. He said, "What computers with punch cards were for our parents, virtual reality will be for us." It's going to start off clunky. It's going to start off a little awkward. But in 20 years, it's going to streamline. It's going to unify. It's going to standardize. And in 20 years, it'll be beyond what we can imagine today. It's going to be huge. Absolutely huge. So, folks, I would like to look at some of the positive things that this is going to bring and some of the potential negatives that it's going to bring. And I would like to first start with a definition. So, virtual reality here will be defined as computer-generated 3D environment that a person can interact with and play in, because of course we're gamers, right? So let's take a look at those positive things. First, gaming applications. All right, virtual reality. It's a more immersive experience. You are in this world. You're no longer staring at a screen where you can actually, where you can look away, take your sip of coffee, look back. No, this, have that disconnect from the screen. This will be a thoroughly wraparound world, not all of your senses right away, but I'm sure at some point it'll be all of your senses, will be wrapped up in this alternate world. And that will allow you to do some really awesome things. I think it's Ubisoft is coming out with a game where you can fly over Paris from the viewpoint of an eagle. How awesome would that be, really? Okay, it won't be awesome for me because I have this thing about heights, so I'm not going to be cool with that. but I mean, how else could you possibly see those sights? That would be fantastic. It'll let you do other things too. I'm thinking specifically, right? Ready? Mars. Okay, I wouldn't want to experience the shuttle right up there. That would terrify me. But I think I could handle virtual reality of wandering around on the surface of Mars. How cool would that be? That to me is an outstanding concept, and I look forward to those sorts of games. And of course, it's going to be more hands-on, as the technology for the Xbox Kinect and those sorts of things become more fine-tuned and more powerful. We'll have less and less of the clunky wands and headsets that we're going to have initially, and I'm just thinking Star Trek holodeck. It will happen. I'm not sure when, but I'm sure it will happen. Gene Roddenberry, you genius. I'm sure it's going to happen, and those sorts of things will be so cool, and I can't wait for those sorts of experiences. I mean, Minecraft VR, it's going to happen. Brace yourselves now, it will happen. Things like, Fallout 16 will probably be completely virtual reality, maybe even at the rate they're going, Fallout 5, but other games too, I imagine, like Battlefield and those sorts of games, will increasingly adapt to this and will become, Battlefield become way more realistic and rugged, and then of course Call of Duty will just become way more comical and fake. But hey, whatever. So gaming stands to completely revolutionize, and I look forward to being in virtual reality with my friends in my house playing a board game with my friends in my house in the virtual world. That'll be great, right? Of course. How about some real world applications? Well, actually, virtual reality is being used right now, albeit in a much more primitive state. And it's being used to identify and treat mental illness, trauma, post-traumatic stress syndrome, all those sorts of things. And actually, I read a study just very recently. I believe it was the University of Pennsylvania that was doing a study on depression, and they created a virtual world that was what I would call excessively gloomy. But when they let participants sort of walk through it, they could tell afterwards who had had experience with mental illness and who had specifically had experience with depression, because they said that it felt peaceful and calm and even enjoyable, whereas people who hadn't necessarily were creeped out and felt, disheartened by being in this world. So, I mean, it's already being used now, and the applications potentially going forward, like helping a surgeon prepare for a difficult surgery and like walking through it, or even being able to have the surgeon in the virtual world map out exactly what needs to happen and with the surgery, and having a computer follow through on that map. I mean, the potential is huge for how this will affect things. Home building, architecture, cars, everything could adopt this and really go somewhere. Self-driving cars aren't just going to be a thing. They're going to be wild and crazy because, all of a sudden you're driving down the road, and this is just a guess. This is just a guess on my part, but I'm imagining it in the most fun way. You're taking a long drive, a couple hours at least, and you get bored, as we all do. So you turn on the VR inside your car. The car continues to drive without you because it doesn't need you anymore. And all of a sudden you are having a picnic, or you are exploring Mars, or all of a sudden the ground falls away and you're an eagle in the skies. Okay, that might be a bit scary, but all sorts of different technological combinations could happen, and it could be amazing. So I sincerely hope that these positive things really come together, and I really want the Mars thing to happen, okay? So anyone who's working in VR, if you're listening to this, virtual reality Mars, let's do it. But unfortunately, friends, at this moment, I have to talk a bit about the negative side of things, because unfortunately the negative side of things is much, much longer than the positives. To start with, Samsung has issued a list of symptoms that if you experience any, you should stop using their virtual equipment. So, what are those symptoms? Here, get ready for this list. I've got a couple of favorites here, and I'll tell you what they are in a minute. Symptoms include seizures, loss of awareness, eye strain, eye or muscle twitching, involuntary movements, altered, blurred, or double vision, visual abnormalities, dizziness, disorientation, impaired balance, impaired hand-eye coordination, excessive sweating, increased salivation, nausea, lightheadedness, discomfort, pain, head, eyes, drowsiness, fatigue, death. No, it doesn't say death. It does not say death, but I figured I might as well throw it in there. Basically, all of that in the kitchen sink. If it's going to go wrong to you, and it happens while you're using VR, stop using VR. My two favorites are loss of awareness and involuntary movements. Now, if you stop to think about that for a second, loss of awareness, does that mean like loss of awareness of where I am in the room? Because that could be a thing, right? If you walk too far over and you trip over something like the Tonka truck your kid left on the floor, yeah, you could get hurt. You could really get hurt. But could it also mean loss of awareness of what is reality? Maybe. It depends on how convincing that virtual world actually is, right? I don't think you're going to confuse yourself with an eagle flying over Paris. I really don't think so. But the potential for, Star Trek holodeck, that could be a thing. And that could cause a lot of people some problems, Matrix style, right? What is the real world? The other one, involuntary movements. Like, is my arm going to spasm? Like, just flip out over there? Or are we talking like involuntary bowel movements? I don't know. But, from that list, man, that's going to be a messy thing to adjust to initially, isn't it? Okay, well, if you haven't experienced any of those things, good, I'm glad. But there are some other things that are a good deal more difficult to deal with. And in this case, the number one hazard in my mind, as I can see it, is extreme cases of escapism. Escapism where a person desires to leave the reality they know for whatever reason. It's not rewarding. They don't have a good sense of achievement to their life. They they're bored, their girlfriend breaks up with them, they just had it with all this. I mean, whatever excuse the person can come up with for not wanting to live their regular life, only more extreme, because this will be way more immersive. Now, why do I say that? Well, yeah, I believe as I read it earlier in the week, the first real study done on escapism was done in the 1940s and 50s. I want to say it was like an ongoing study. And it showed that with each new technological advancement, well, at that time, TV, right? TV was really big in how it was. But then also, again, years later with the internet, and then now the last several years with smartphones, each new technological advancement has seen an increase in escapism. As technology becomes more immersive, with TV, you can see shows all the time. Internet, a wealth of information at your fingertips. Smartphone, it goes with you everywhere you are. Like, each step we take, the harder it is, or at least the easier it is, really, to fall into the trap of escaping from your world. And if you're wondering what I'm talking about, next time you go to the store, or you're waiting at the bus station, or you see in any group of high schoolers, they're all going to have their faces, tilted down, staring at their little phone screens. That's escapism. They're not looking around them. They're not talking to each other. They're dealing with this little box. They're not part of reality. They are now sucked into their phones. And I'm not saying phones are a bad thing. I love my phone. I spend more time playing on my phone than I should admit to. But it's there. I enjoy it. But it's also a trap if not used carefully. Now, when I say extreme escapism, first I should probably let you know what, without virtual reality, what escapism can look like. It can look like people who just play excessive amounts of video games. That's one option. But it can have a much darker side too. 3 examples for you. In the 1990s, a term called hikikomori, I hope I didn't butcher that too badly, was coined to mean the estimated 500,000 to 1 million Japanese citizens who refuse to leave their homes. Period. They don't leave home. And also, many of them, as it was noted in the study, are addicted to the internet. Like, they would rather be home by themselves with their technology than go out the doors and be with anybody else. That's a pretty big deal right there as far as escapism goes. Like, they just don't want to go outdoors. They don't want to be part of the world. They just want to be home. But it gets worse. In 2004, there was a report about a 13-year-old from China who committed suicide after playing 36 hours of World of Warcraft. And he committed suicide to join the heroes of the game that he worshipped. Oh boy. That one's a hard one. And I'm sure there were probably some other contributing factors to it as well. I mean, there always are, but that's pretty severe. But again, I'm sorry, it gets worse. 2009, there was a report done about a 3-year-old from New Mexico who died from neglect while mom played World of Warcraft. Literally. And World of Warcraft does get a bad rap, but it was, as yet, the most immersive game of its time. So, of course, it would be. Same issues happen, not quite as severe, but with Minecraft and others. Any game that offers a false sense of achievement is a potential hazard. So, with those ideas of what escapism has been, extreme escapism only boggles my mind. Like, how far could it go? How many people are going to have their lives ruined, or maybe in their lives, because of this? Am I saying virtual reality is bad? No, I'm not. But I'm saying people will struggle with this, and it will be a problem. The guy from Russia earlier this year who sued the makers of Fallout 4 because it was too addicting, and he lost his family and his job because he played it too much. I mean, if Fallout 4 played on a PC is too engaging and too addicting, imagine what the next step up would be in virtual reality. I mean, my goodness, would he forget to eat? Possibly. I don't know. But it's going to be a big deal. And unless you exercise caution, and Samsung mentions, take a 15-minute break after every half an hour of gameplay, just so that you help stave off any of the side effects or other things. But, that's a warning that we get with everything. We get we get warnings with all sorts of things these days. But do we listen to them? Most of the time, not. This is going to be a big deal, especially if it's not used carefully. So, the psychology of virtual reality. Some great potential, amazing. Still hoping for Mars, but it's going to have a dark side too. And unless you're careful, it could happen to you. So, my friends, I put this video out here to expand a little bit upon what the potential of virtual reality is, but I also say it as a urge of caution that with every new opportunity that science and technology brings, there should always be that element of caution until we can fully understand what it's going to be all about and what it's capable of. All right. Well, folks, thank you for watching this. I appreciate it. I hope you'll check out our other series. Psychology of Minecraft is another one I've done. I also have other series of $2 or less is best, revisiting Left 4 Dead, and other things as well. So come on and check us out. Also follow us on Twitter and check out my blog that I've got going on. I'll be writing some stuff up concerning virtual reality very soon, and if it's not already posted by the time this airs. And thank you so much again, and I'll see you next time.